just over a week ago, there was an article about 65 hospitals closing, and I think this brings up a massive issue that needs to be talked about moving forward, and it's the loss of productivity in the economy. And when you have things like inflation, crazy interest rate swings going on, goalposts constantly moving, government printing currency, which is inflation, things are so in flux that the average person can't budget. They don't know what's going on. The average business doesn't know whether to lay people off or bring people on, has no idea what's going on. You have the insidiousness of what's actually happening. Meaning, people just look a lot of times in the media or on social media or economists, and they're looking at job numbers or looking at GDP. They just think of everything as a metric and like a GDP growth or something to that effect. But the real insidiousness of in one day, and you go to dailyjobcuts.com, which is a site that I just learned about actually, and I didn't know about, but I forgot who had just mentioned this actually recently, but they were talking about some of this stuff, and they were talking about dailyjobcuts.com, and then I saw this article, and they might have even touched on it, and that's how I found it. I can't remember, but there was many things just in one day that had closed, and I believe the 65 hospitals were just one of the things, among many others. And what you don't see, what the data doesn't really tell you, is the person that's driving or maybe in need of healthcare, of medical care, in need of something. And now that thing that was in their community is gone. The job losses, the people moving out of that community now, but again, the impact of maybe I'm having a baby or maybe I'm needing some life-saving care, and now that's gone. I'm driving 5 or 10, 15 minutes. Now I'm driving 30, 45, an hour to try to get care that I need right now. That is the insidiousness of a world destroyed by fake currency. Another example, you have 10 McDonald's in town, and now you have 1 or 2. And in theory, those McDonald's can now outprice the other, because so many people are coming to theirs now instead of going to the other McDonald's, that they can now change their prices based off of the amount of people coming to their store. The demand has gone up, and their supply hasn't gone up, but the demand has gone up. So now they have to raise their prices in order to stave off the amount of people. Because if they don't, they're going to have all their inventory blown out. They're going to have people come and buy it all up, and it's going to be gone. They're going to be sitting there, right? So this is just basics, right? Economics 101 basics. There's obviously nuance to that, but you're getting the point. These are the economics lessons that we all are supposed to learn in government-run schools, and unfortunately, many of us don't learn anymore. Another example. When you're going ESG or this environmental route, which unfortunately for all of us, fortunately for humanity, ESG is failing right now. It's hanging on by a thread, and it's still there, but it is failing because people are seeing the scam that it is. It's really a money laundering operation. If you cared about the environment, you wouldn't actually be doing these things. If you cared about the environment, you'd actually be a hunter and a fisherman. You'd actually be a conservationist, not an environmentalist. Environmentalists are wackos that do crazy things. Conservationists are the people that actually take care of the land. They're planting and tilling the land, conserving it, regenerative farming, having animals that are actually eating the grass. Weird concept, instead of genetically modified organisms and things like that. But when you have these scams being perpetrated by fiat currencies, by government currencies, and there are people just trying to enrich themselves, and they're creating this cloud, this fog of war, and people have no idea what's going on, and prices keep going up, so companies are trying to put worse ingredients in and do worse and worse things to their products just to keep the prices the same with the rising costs and not have the consumer throw a fit. Now you get cheaper and cheaper things putting into your body, putting into your animals' bodies, putting into the atmosphere, or whatever it is. But when you now have a society where governments are now dictating this, and then businesses are now shutting down. The Rust Belt is a great example, right? I'm in Michigan, in the Rust Belt, in the auto industry. Detroit being the biggest city in the world, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then all of a sudden just falling off a cliff because we started pouring all this capital into trying to pay people higher wages in the unions when they were, let's be honest, just putting bolt-on cars or whatever it was, and we were inflating the prices of the worker there, and the productivity wasn't there. They were making crazier and crazier demands, and that just kept going. That's a different story for a different day. But when you have a society, the Rust Belt, for example, the manufacturing, the lifeblood of the American economy, the reason we won World War II, and that's gone. It's literally rusted out. The Rust Belt has rusted itself out into oblivion. You don't just turn that switch back on. When people realize the ramifications of, and we're down the road on many of these initiatives for decades, for years, and we're seeing these initiatives play out. We're seeing what happens when you are teaching children in schools and government-run universities and government-run schools and lower education that, the bad guys are the good guys and the good guys are the bad guys. We see what's going on right now. We see people overrunning capitals, overrunning streets everywhere with certain flags in the air protesting for the people that viciously terrorist attacked another group of people. And we're seeing support for those attackers. But yet in Ukraine, we had people come in and attack, and we supported the victims in that case. Again, I digress, but we're seeing these ramifications. My point is, we're seeing these different ramifications play out over the course of years, over the course of decades. And the biggest point that I want to end with is that when you have the Rust Belt rust itself out because we have poor policy, we outsource our jobs to China, we mess with our currency, and you figure out eventually 5 years from now, 15 years from now, 50 years from now, oh, we made a mistake. That was all an illusion. We were just laundering the electorate doesn't know what's going on. Most of the electorate has no clue what's going on. As Barack Obama's healthcare czar, Jonathan Gruber, so aptly stated, they use the stupidity of the American voter, in his words, to pass Obamacare. His words. Go check them out. They're on our YouTube channel here. And it's a minute-long clip. Still on the internet somehow. I don't know how they didn't scrub that from the internet. And from 10, 12 years ago. And when you realize most people have no idea what's going on, the people just at the very top, the ones passing these rules and laws, people that are in the highest offices of the land, and they're constantly laundering money to themselves and their sons and their family members and their extraneous family members and their extended family, and they're using ESG, they're using Solyndra, they're using these different companies as these channels to funnel money. It's too late. When you realize that ESG is a scam, or you realize this thing's a scam, and the Rust Belt is rusted out, you don't just turn and flip the switch and say, oh, we were wrong, I'm going to go back to the old world. That's not how it works. That stuff's gone. It's rusted out. The people have left. The people have moved on. The companies have moved on. The systems, the processes, all gone. You don't just flip the switch on like it's a video game and hit reset like we're playing Mario Kart 64. That's not how this works. And that's the insidiousness. We have the ability as human beings to choose what we want to do every day, and we are choosing to bring ourselves back into the Stone Age because we are cratering everything in the world, especially energy. Energy is the level of productivity in a society. The more energy the society uses, the more humans flourish in that area. Just look at a night map of North Korea versus the United States, and it's very obvious. And now this push with this new thing with the energy usage, first is global cooling from the Club of Rome and all these Malthusians, then it was global warming, then it was climate change, and now it's transitioning to energy usage. Keep the energy usage down. You see these Wild Aid or World Aid billboards, which, where are they getting this cash from? Because they're not, how are they making money? They're just out there like, shack up, conserve energy. What? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Energy is everywhere. It never goes away. It's never created nor destroyed. It just transfers states. Why would I have to conserve energy when it never goes anywhere? It just transfers states. And we have lost, just first principles, the understanding of just even that basic fact that we can't even as humans recognize what's going on from a common sense perspective. So that's the big underlying factor in all this. These hospitals closing, it speaks to a bigger problem that we are facing, whether it's ESG, the Rust Belt, hospitals. Now that productivity is gone. That good or service that entrepreneur provided you, or that hospital or whatever it was, you don't have it anymore. You need life-saving care? Too bad. Drive an hour away. You don't have it anymore. You need all those people that had businesses that were around the hospital because they were there because they created it because it was an opportunity. Like, hey, I'm going to create a business around here because there's a hospital here, an anchor tenant, we'll say, for lack of a better phrase. And now that hospital's gone, well, those businesses leaks are like, well, there's no business here. And now you have to pay more for your lumber. You have to pay more for the food because there's less and less competition there to go buy those goods or services from. This is the world we are entering. This is the world the West is entering in. As Cameron McGregor always talks about, world of scarcity, or a world of abundance. We're entering the time of scarcity, where the strong survive, where the men and women who actually get it, who are actually able to learn, unlearn, and then relearn what's going on, as Alvin Toffler talked about, Future Shock from his book decades ago, are the people that will succeed in society. So we don't just flip a switch. Once we've destroyed things, it takes a long time, if ever, to get these things up and running. and now you've created more hardship in the interim. You've created, lower standard of living and higher prices because now you're dealing with less goods and services. When there's an abundance of goods and services, prices come down. When there's a lack of goods and services, then prices go up. Again, economics 101. Let me know your thoughts on this. I think this is something that rarely ever gets talked about. It doesn't get talked in economic circles. It doesn't get talked in the media circles. It really just doesn't get talked about much at all. And I think this is the really sneaky underlying problem that we are running into in the West, and it's only going to speed up. It's only going to speed up. Appreciate you being here. Please share this out. The algorithm hates truth, so please, the only way we can build this community together, and again, and selfishly, it helps me. This is full time. The things that I do, managing our portfolio, putting out economic letters for you guys, and building this community, doing our TikToks and our blog, the subscription. Or it's not a subscription now, it's free to go to the blog and Substack in the description here, and our Rumble and the many other things we're doing to put free content out and share what I've been doing and I've been seeing for 20 years, and that's worked for me and really helped me and my family. So I appreciate your support more than you know. Trust but verify, question everything boldness, even the existence of God himself. And this is not financial advice, it is freedom advice. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.